The series of Alchemy Japanese RPGs, which have existed for over 20 years, has now been split into two lines. One tells the adventure of a charming big-eyed girl named Risa. The other tells the adventure of a charming big-eyed girl named Sophie. Yes, they do have so much in common that in place you almost can't tell the difference. But as a release of Atelier Sophie 2, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream showed that plenty or difference too. Both Atelier Risa 2, Lost Legend and The Secret Fairy and Atelier Sophie 2, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream are almost identical in the main things. Here we explore the world, complete quest, fight and constantly collect tons of ingredients to jam in the alchemists. Collaboration and create tons of items, including cool crafting materials, consumables, gear and key plot items. But perhaps even more starting at the bizarre costumes that are dressed pretty big-eyed girls, necessary decorate with ears, ponytails, stockings, ringtones, sexy collars, incredible designs on his head and all this, which is not to fight, and even more normally people could not. The chapters are not even games but fairy tales, full of goodness and niceness, including for adult voyeurs who love to look up girls' skirts, where they are not people but fascinately dressed up dolls, bubbling and touching in Japanese. Customers can be changed at your discretion, sending for example your whole party to fight in the ruins in the form in which they usually go to the beach. Or you can dress as Sophie so that it will be almost impossible to distinguish her from Risa even visually. The principles of the plot are also almost identical. In Atelier Sophie 2, our heroine leaves her hometown of Kirchenbell with her teacher and friend Plancha, who used to be a book, but now is dull in the direct, not figurative sense, and she is, by the way, 100 years old. Yes. You can learn all this from the reference, which details the events and chapters of the first part. So having experience playing Atelier Sophie and The Alchemist of the Mysterious book is desirable, but not necessary. The goal of Sophie's new journey is to become a licensed alchemist and help Plachta regain her human body. Naturally, something goes wrong, the girl doll disappears and Sophie finds herself in a strange dream world called Earth Big, where dreams seem to come true and times go by different way. And there is a strange way. She meets an alchemist girl named Plancha, who doesn't recognize Sophie and is another version of her friend and teacher. Moreover, our heroine meets a girl named Ramizelle, who is actually a young version of her dead grandmother. In general, nothing is real clear at first, but I said it is clear how the story will develop. Soon we get to the ruins, which we must be sure to explore, solving puzzles and defeating bosses to advance in the story. Then we meet old acquaintances or new characters who come to the rescue in time, use the next tasks and join the squad. And then new ruins, bosses and new meetings. And almost every time to successfully complete the key quest for the story, you need to create with alchemy important items, like a monster bait or a key to get into the world of a local goddesses who can answer the question of where they find Plachta. During breaks we, as usual, are on our own, can explore the world, collect materials, experiment with them in his alchemical studio, level up, chat with partners, and perform a bunch of the same type of quests, from the bulletin board to find ingredients and kill monsters. Quest companions of the same level are 8 by themselves, also perform themselves as long as we just play. Win 10 battles, use 10 times so and so items in battle, find such and such a location. The presence of such a large number of single-type quests is quite standard for the Atelier series. and in principle for Japanese RPGs. In this case, this is a party compensated by the abundance of scenes and dialogues that allow you to get to know your alias and in principle to take part in their lives in solving certain problems. Exactly the same was in Atelier Sophie too. For example, we learn more about the mercenary alias, calling himself the coolest bodyguard in the world, but clearly hiding something. He is also a member of the team Sophie, and a partner named Elite tries to teach her alchemy, but she is not very good at the right way. In general, as in the previous game of the series, interesting fact from the past partners and just more or less funny situation about. Tense communication increases the level of friendship with them, and this opens up new supporting skills that helps us primary in alchemy. The alchemy system in the new part is basically the same as in Atelier Sophie 2, although there are some differences. The process of placing ingredients on the alchemy board is something like a Tetris. There are mini games when collecting materials directly in the field and new recipes required by the story. We do not synthesize ourselves, they are unlocked as you move through the story and complete the task. Alchemical exercise can be automated, but for the best result it's better to do everything manually. If you're playing on a high level of difficulty, but don't really want to do too much grind, then despite the seeming accessibility of the alchemy system, you have to learn and understand it more deeply to create the most powerful equipment and consumables. And the further you progress through the story, the more relevant this becomes. However, even on normal difficulty level, the battles only at first can cause yawning, but later they almost always require constant control. Unless, of course, you are vacuuming again the old location with low-level monsters. The combat system returned to the classic turn-based scheme, where we can no longer move around the arena. However, the battles still look dynamic, also thanks to the time acceleration feature. Otherwise, everything is familiar. We use personal skills that consume mana, if desired, call in fighters from the reverse, so they block the attacks, and sometimes they let you know that you know your opponent's vulnerabilities and offer to do combos together. When fighting dangerous enemies and bosses, it's important to knock out the aura, which gives resistance to certain types of element damage and a bunch of other bonuses. And in general, as before, it is very useful to take into account what enemies are particularly vulnerable to and what they are not. To do this, you can even change the weather arbitrarily. This chip with a change of weather is actively used in the exploration of the world. In location, especially in the story ruins, there are places where you cannot get to it due to the fact, for example, all flooded with water, then at all special altar with a special artifact includes the sunny water, and in a moment everything will be dry. Or on the contrary, if you need to raise the water level in order to jump over the barrels boxes that rose from the bottoms to the other side, switch to rain. Artifacts can be recharged in the alchemy lab. The mechanics are simple, but it looks spectacular and greatly expanded with new features. Overall, playing Atelier Sophie 2 is just as fun as playing Atelier Sophie 2. The only thing that the plot and its presentation may seem more strange, and the amount of enemy queued of meaningless conversation and replies, even I something had an overdose. Because of the constant cooling in Japanese, just want to turn off the sound. Still, Atelier Sophie 2 The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream is highly recommended to all fans of the series and JRPG in general. Thank you.